Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Hello.
We are a horror movie podcast. This is our news edition of the show, which we do most weeks. Sometimes if there's not a lot of news, or if we've taken a week off from recording, we can't do news, but we're here most weeks, and we have some interesting stuff to talk about. It's not quite as packed or as monumental as last week, but we got some interesting tidbits and some new movies to potentially look forward to coming up later in the year. So we'll start off with Hellraiser. This is not exciting news necessarily. In fact, it could put some projects that are supposed to be happening in a rough place, potentially. And that is, we know how this whole Friday the 13th thing we've been dealing with recently?
Yeah.
With the legal battles and the writer taking back the rights and all the rest of it. Well,
I like that you make it seem like we personally have been dealing with it. Like we're cut in the middle of it.
I think we are. Honestly, I think we're very close to standing trial at any point now, to be honest. But Hellraiser seems to be like it's about to go through the same thing. With Clive Barker, for his original story, he's trying to reclaim the rights based on the same law. It would be the end of 2021, sometime in December. And basically that means that the projects are in the works, the movie that's in the works and the TV show that's in the works, they could just make a deal with him. It may not be as messy as Friday the 13th. This might go much smoother. If the producers just give him what he wants, it might actually go relatively smooth. But it could also end up being another legal tangled battle of, and everything that's supposed to be happening with Hellraiser could just instantly be dead because of this.
Yeah. I mean, at least this seems like a little more like easier to follow than Friday the 13th, because like Friday the 13th there's so much, kind of like legalese in it, and then you have different stuff with like, the writer and the director and what was work for hire and what is like this guy's creation and stuff. Like at least with Hellraiser, it's like, well, I mean, obviously it all goes back to Clive Barker. Like, he did the original story. He, wrote and directed the first movie. So I don't know, it doesn't like seem as messy. Not to say that, like Hollywood and studio people aren't going to try to find loopholes and, make it convoluted or whatever. But at least seems a bit like easier to follow because it's just like pretty obviously one person behind it all. Yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't get the rights to anything from the sequels or anything that was added, but he would get
the CD throwing, Cenobite. We won't see him again.
His original story, The Hellbound Heart, he would have the rights back to that for films and TV and all the rest of it. And he did, of course, create Pinhead. Pinhead's in that original story, so he would get Pinhead.
I do wonder, though, I have read this story, but I don't think he's actually called Pinhead in it. So I wonder if they would be able to use the name. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but
that's an interesting. But can they make him look like Pinhead though? If he's described in the book?
Oh, sure, yeah. Like, I just like because in the book, it's like the first movie where it's like they are more of a force of nature, and everything, and so it's not like in the book. And then Pinhead came out and said, but they do describe him like how they look and stuff. But yeah, I don't think you actually get that name. But then he did write a book like just like a couple of years ago called The Scarlet Gospels, where it's mostly about Pinhead, and I'm sure they probably called him that in there. So I don't know if that hurts or helps it or where that falls, but
it's an interesting question. But December 19th, 2021 is the date that this would go into effect if it goes through, meaning that if they want to actually churn out a movie, as long as they release it before December 19th, 2021, they're completely allowed to do so. So maybe they'll fast track that movie. In fact, they even said here in this article Bloody Disgusting that it was actually being fast tracked. It just got halted because, well, the pandemic and the world.
Time to go to Australia.
Or New Zealand.
Sure.
I think New Zealand's well, I say that because New Zealand have had like the best tracked records. They literally got to a point where there was no cases or something like that.
Well, I was just making a Children of the Corn joke.
Yes. I got it. I got the reference. Yes. Yes. So that is Hellraiser. So I mean, it's funny because Hellraiser's not something I need more of. Like Hellraiser's a great movie.
Sure.
I love the first Hellraiser, But I don't
Me too.
necessarily need there to be any more of it. And obviously, we're working through the movies, and we're seeing what the sequels are like. But I don't necessarily need to have more Hellraiser sequels and interpretations. Like, I can happily just live with the first one, and that's it. Friday the 13th is a weird one where I kind of just want more and more sequels of Jason killing people in more ridiculous and stupid ways.
Yeah.
So I'm more bothered by the Friday the 13th one than this, but when I say bothered, I just mean in terms of like the legal entanglement slowing things down for new projects. Not so much that I'm mad at the writer for getting what they deserve from their creations. So
Totally.
so that's Hellraiser. Could be a little dispute there, or maybe it won't be a dispute at all. Maybe it'll just go smoothly. I mean, do Hollywood producers like to just hand things over? I don't know. Probably not. They don't.
No.
They definitely don't. But
And like, I mean, is Hellraiser that much of like a huge like money grab? Like, I know people just like to have the IP and everything, but like they've been churning out so many like straight to VOD sequels that I'm sure do like okay because they're cheap and has enough name recognition, but is it really that much of a moneymaker?
Yeah, I think with Friday the 13th, even though they hadn't made one since 2009, I think there is something to be said that Friday the 13th never went straight to video. Like it was always worth a theatrical release in some form. I mean, okay, the last couple they made didn't do like insanely well, but I mean, there's no reason why Friday the 13th, if being churned out for cheap, can't keep making enough money to justify making more. Like Blumhouse churning out Friday the 13th movies seems like an inevitability at some point. They've done Halloween. Why not do Friday the 13th too?
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, I don't need any more Hellraiser movies, but if there was anything that was going to get me excited, it probably would be if Clive Barker got the rights back, because he talked about before about I think it probably would have been like a couple of years ago at this point, maybe even like almost 10 years or something, but like I think he did write a treatment for like some type of reboot or something that he might have even said he's possibly thinking about directing. I think this was like around when they were putting out the Cabal cut of Nightbreed, so obviously a while ago, but yeah, like if he did get it back, or wants to get it back, maybe it's because he has plans or wants to do something, and that could actually be pretty exciting. Like, maybe not necessary, but it would definitely be a lot more exciting than what's his face David Goyer doing it.
Yeah, I definitely, if out of the projects that are supposed to be in the works, the TV show is the one that's a bit more interesting. That would be maybe a shame to not get to see what it would have been. But
yeah,
I mean, who knows? I don't know. I mean, I'm not necessarily excited by the idea of Clive Barker making something either, because the original Hellraiser, well, I love it, is like the only thing from Clive Barker that I've actually really liked, because Clive Barker's other track record, because he did contribute to Hellraiser Bloodline. He did Nightbreed. Apart from one element of it, I don't like that movie that much. And then he did have a lot of involvement in Rawhead Rex. So not the best track record after Hellraiser, I have to say.
Sure. I mean, I love Barker, but I mean, I don't know, it's mostly from this stuff of his the books that I've read, but I don't know, like I think maybe like he hasn't had a like super big hit aside from like that he was like really involved with, aside from Hellraiser, but I don't know, I still think he's good enough, and I don't know, a lot of the things, who knows what happens behind the scenes. I'm sure there's a lot that you can probably track up to like studio interference or whatever. I actually do like Nightbreed quite a bit. I do think it is kind of a mess, but like I don't know, I at least think it's interesting. It has like some cool elements to it, but who knows?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll move on then. So next up, Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z.
Mm-hmm.
He's got another book called Devolution, and that is now kind of in the works at Legendary Entertainment, who recently they've done a bunch of Texas Chainsaw movies, which isn't exactly saying the whole lot. But they also did the newer Godzilla and King Kong movies, so they've got some bigger cred to them. But they're going to do a movie based on Devolution, and this might interest you when I tell you what it's about.
Is it the Sasquatch one?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Devolution, the latest book by World War Z author Max Brooks. It is Brooks' take on the Bigfoot folktale. The complete title is to the tome is Devolution, a first-hand account of the Rainer Sasquatch massacre, and it is told through as a journal and scientific investigation. So this really sounds like an interesting movie. Like I could definitely see this feeling unique and doing something different with. Because I mean, when was the last time we had a good Bigfoot movie?
Ever have we? I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I actually saw this, not the movie news. I didn't realize it was being turned into a movie, but I heard about the book on I was looking at a list of like, you know, horror books coming out this summer that you should check out, and it sounded pretty interesting. Yeah, obviously I love my cryptids. I love Bigfoot. And I mean I don't know too much about Max Brooks. I think I read at least most of World War Z back in the day. I don't remember if I ever finished it. It's an interesting take, for sure, but I do think it did end up kind of boring me a little bit. But I mean, some of that might have been like zombie fatigue too and stuff at the time when I read it. But I mean, I'm definitely interested in this book, and yeah, maybe the movie could be cool too.
Yeah. So well, maybe we'll get our not big budget, but like our mainstream Sasquatch movie that actually gets some attention and gets some recognition. I don't know if it's worth it. That is.
Although I mean, yeah. Although like I don't know if I like the idea of portraying Sasquatch as a monster, because I do think he is more of a gentle giant. But I mean I'll still be here for it.
Didn't realize you felt so strongly on the matter, Tim.
I mean, I don't. If you look at the stories, I mean, I think you'd have a hard time trying to find that many actual violent encounters with Bigfoot.
Okay.
More helpful, if anything, but
helpful. Does it help you move your couch when you're moving house? It shows up and like I can
help
carry
people
this
that are like
with one arm because I'm a Bigfoot.
It helps people like when they get lost in the woods and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Next up, Epic Pictures is a horror brand that Dread have acquired global rights to. Dread is a subset of Epic Pictures, but they have acquired the global rights to a trio of horror films ahead of next week's Cannes virtual festival, essentially, or the virtual sales market, maybe more precise. So here's the three films that they've got the rights to. So Andy Collier and Tour Mian's horror film Sacrifice, which co-stars Barbara Crampton, is set on a Norwegian island and follows a man and his pregnant wife who return to his birthplace to deal with unexpected inheritance after the death of his mother. So it's a bit vague there in terms of what the actual horror element is, but I mean, it's called Sacrifice, and they're going to Norway, and just. I feel like in horror movies, ever since Midsummer, whenever they go to the Scandinavian region for anything, I'm immediately concerned.
It's scary.
Yeah, scary stuff. The next one's a horror comedy. It's called Uncle Peckerhead, and it's written and directed by Matthew John Lawrence. Chronicles a punk rock band called Duh on their first tour. When the group receives a hand from a drifter, they discover he is a cursed man-eating hillbilly.
Okay.
As you do. So that one's actually got a day here. It's going to be released in theaters on August 7th.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see how many theaters are open. Although it seems like they're planning to open soon, so maybe we're actually at a point now where we believe this will happen. Now, how well all the movies do with people still being nervous about going out, we'll see, but
sure.
it's worth an idea. And then the third film is called La Casa, and it is a Spanish film, a Spanish language horror film from Chilean writer-director Jorge Alguin. I'm probably butchering that last name. It's probably a completely different pronunciation because it's not because I'm saying Gwyn like a British name would be, but it takes place in 1986 during Chile's military dictatorship. When a police officer is summoned to investigate suspicious people inside a house, he finds himself trapped, trying to escape from violent paranormal events. So, that's probably the most interesting sounding of the three, I think. But
yeah, could be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Any of those three stick out to you?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say sticks out. Because they all sound like decent enough premises. I wouldn't say that I have anything wrong with any of them. I think Uncle Peckerhead does sound pretty cool. But I mean, the fact that it's a comedy, like, there's so much that, like, even if you have a good premise, like, comedy relies a lot on like timing and the characters and everything. So yeah, it's kind of hard to get excited without having a sense of, like, what that's going to be like. But no, I mean, I would definitely be interested in checking any of these out. I think maybe once we get around to seeing some trailers and stuff for them, we'll have a better idea of which ones I want to see more.
Yeah. Next up, got a film called 12-Hour Shift starring Angela Bettis, who you might remember from May, but way back at the start of the century, and also Carrie. I assume that's the remake, because the time frame would make sense. So
I'm trying to think. Was she in the? Yeah, maybe she was in the remake. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Maybe the miniseries was that, because that was around the time of the TV miniseries, right?
Possibly too. Actually, yeah, that might be
early 2000s.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't specify, it just says Carrie. But returns to horror, and writer-director Bria Grant's who worked on After Midnight, their new film 12-Hour Shift. And it's set to world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival, or it was until that got cancelled for obvious reasons. So yeah, Magnet Releasing has acquired the worldwide rights to the horror comedy that follows a group of nurses who are stealing organs and selling them to the black market. Nurse Mandy is just trying to make it through her double shift alive, but her nasty drug addiction, annoying co-workers, needy patients, and devious cousin are making it pretty tough. Not to mention organ-stealing criminals and an injured convict. So
this one sounds pretty cool. I'm kind of excited for it. I mean, again, like everything, it's hard to kind of tell without, like, seeing a trailer to kind of get the tone and style of it, but it sounds pretty cool. And I like those people involved. What do you call it? When you give, just like, for full disclosure, like Bria Grant is like a friend of mine. So she probably wouldn't recognize who I am, but like I've been to some parties and stuff and met her a few times. She's really nice and she's in a bunch of cool stuff. But I just putting that disclosure out there, so in case anyone thinks I'm biased or anything.
The word you were looking for there, I think, was disclaimer.
Disclaimer. There you go. Yeah.
Yes. But yes, fair enough.
But no, I am excited for it though. I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
Or it sounds cool.
Was she the one who was in that board game movie?
Yes, that what was like that VHS board game, which Barbara Crampton was also in. She's
Beyond the Gates.
Beyond the Gates. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you look it up, like there's like she's in a bunch of stuff, and like there's kind of like this little like horror community, because I think like her and like Graham Skipper, I think, are like in a lot of things, and so a lot of like names you probably see pop up. But
yes, it's the horror community which Tim is desperately trying to penetrate, and he's gotten to the point where he's met someone vaguely at a party who wouldn't remember him, but that's where we're at. But it'll pay off. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll get like a hot young writer director on the show at some point through Tim's Connect.
All I really want is just a free ticket to see things. I just don't want to have to pay to go to the movies. That's all I'm looking for.
I don't think the directors literally deal with the ticketing process, Tim. I think you're barking up the wrong tree there. But it's actually, I think, one of the employees at the theatre are the ones you have to be schmoozing for that there, Tim.
Okay, well, I've wasted my life then.
maybe seduce the theatre manager, perhaps. That might be your real in there.
Okay. I'll see what I can do. Especially now. I just can't wait to go to the movies.
I'm just imagining Tim trying to seduce this like 60-year-old like manager of a theatre who just comes down and says to the ushers, like, this man here, this Tim, he gets lifetime free entry. And then all the college-aged employees just look at Tim like, "What did you do, man? What did you do?"
I used to in Rhode Island, there was a comedy club. Well, not like a club, but there's a movie theater that would like basically reserve one room for stand-up comedy for like Friday through like I think it was just Friday and Saturdays. And then they would always have like local comedians MC. So I used to like that used to be fun whenever I performed there, because then like you get to know the people in the theater, and then you like can just kind of go and hang out and see whatever movies you wanted there. I was cool with that. So that was a fun time.
Yeah, so I like that Tim's happily willing to admit when he's completely broken the law.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's something people are gonna come after me for.
There's a warrant out for Tim's arrest in at least 5 states. So it's
I don't know if it's like against the law when like the employees are telling you like, yeah, go watch this.
Yeah, you're quite right. It's the employees who are breaking the law, not you. The movie studio's going to come for them. No, this actually sounds kind of fun. There actually is a short teaser trailer for this one, which I didn't send to Tim, but it's kind of cool in the sense that there's no dialogue in it. It's just all music. So it's a very quick teaser. But yeah, interestingly, it's produced by David and Christina Arquette.
Oh, interesting.
David and Christina Arquette produced it. And it noticed in the cast list that Mick Foley is that wrestler Mick Foley?
The wrestler?
Yeah,
I would assume so.
Okay, that's an interesting cameo.
It definitely sounds like interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I don't know which character he'll be playing, but I'm hoping for Cactus Jack. So, so moving on, we're going to talk about a new vampire film called With Teeth.
Ooh. Okay.
So, With Teeth, K-Ash 11 is going to direct, and it has Lydia Hearst, Cara Hayward, Jack Donnelly starring, along with Malin Ackerman, who's seen a bunch of things, such as Final Girls and Watchmen. Oh, yeah. And it says here Rampage. Oh yeah, she was like the villain in Rampage. That's right. That movie was very forgettable. So, you know, that's what it is. But yeah, so here's the description of this. So With Teeth follows a group of superstar internet influencers, oh god, who are drawn to a reclusive billionaire's mansion only to find themselves trapped in the lair of horrifyingly evil vampires. So the only way out is to be saved by a famous online gamer and an old school vampire hunter who is set in his ways. Can I just say that we're doing movies now where the main characters are like Instagram people and like video game streamers? Can we just acknowledge we're at that point where that's who the main characters of movies are?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't like it, but it's not like I mean, they do exist. Like, you know, it's not like they. You know, a character shouldn't be that in a movie, but I mean, they're annoying in real life. I don't want to see them in movies too.
We talk about we're influencers, Tim.
Oh, sure.
We influence lots of things. I also it's kind of weird because
influence people to change the channel.
Shut up. So Cara Hayward, one of the actors that I mentioned there, she was in Moonrise Kingdom, and it says pictured below Moonrise Kingdom here on Bloody Disgusting, and I think what's weird about that is that Moonrise Kingdom came out in 2010, and she obviously in that movie she's like 12, and I'm like, she's obviously not 12 anymore. So it's a weird thing to say, hey, this is the actor we're talking about, but this is a photo of her from 10 years ago when she was a child. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it's not a big deal if we're talking about 35 to 45, but we're talking about 12 to 22 here. She's going to look a bit different by now, but whatever. I mean, maybe that means she's done nothing notable since then. I have no idea, but
yeah.
I thought that was vaguely amusing. Next up, Dark Sky Films have acquired the US rights to a supernatural horror film called Hosts. So this is something that's coming up. The demonic possessions mark the onset of a global pandemic of possession that runs loved ones against each other. A possession pandemic?
I Pass.
Yeah, that's fair. I have nothing to really add, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like again, like anything, like it's always hard to gauge stuff from description. So
Yeah.
maybe you see more and it looks cool, but yeah, it doesn't necessarily sound interesting to me. I think like same way that we had like just the you know uh constant flood of zombie movies, and then we just got so sick of zombies. I feel like I maybe don't see it as much nowadays, but I'm just like so sick of possessions. It just seems like there was so many crappy, possession, devil, demonic kind of movies over the last 10 years. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't interest me.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning this is actually a debut from co-writers and directors Richard Oakes and Adam Leader. So, so we have nothing to like look at and say,
Yeah.
oh hey, we've seen their work on this, so we can expect this. This is expected to come out in late 2020. No specific date, but late 2020 is what they're saying. So
Cool.
we'll see. Okay. Next up, just a release date update here. Saint Maud, which is A24's horror film that looked quite good from
Yep.
before. That was meant to come out, I think it was April, maybe early May, the original date was, and it obviously got pushed for obvious reasons. That's actually coming out now on July 17th, and it's still saying a theatre release, so it really does feel like not all the movies, but there's definitely some companies here that are really starting to get into the idea that July is when movie theatres are going to be back.
Yeah.
Feelings, thoughts?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I do want to see the movie. I'm trying to wonder, like, I wonder if this might be one that's kind of like safe to go see, because I imagine that like theater's not going to be packed for Saint Maud, Like,
yeah, unless people are just so desperate to go and see a movie, and it's like the only thing playing because it's like one of the first ones back. I mean, maybe it'll be packed for that reason. Yeah. I mean, I'm geared up. I'm getting the hazmat suit ready for tonight. So I mean,
Yeah.
I suppose I could break it out early for Saint Maud. But yeah, that's coming July 17th.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just still like, I don't really have like a ton of confidence like from what we've been hearing about, theaters, especially this past week. There was kind of a kerfuffle when like the CEO of like AMC was talking about like, yeah, we're not going to require people to wear masks and that kind of stuff, where it's like, seems like maybe that's like the bare minimum you should be doing, but I know people are like desperate to regain some normalcy, but like, yeah, the virus is still out there, and like people are still getting sick and dying. So I don't know, like unless there's like a really clear way to guarantee that like, oh no, this is like a safe procedure for going to the movies. I don't know, I'm not really in a rush to go.
Yeah, it's even spiking in some states right now.
Yeah.
So Florida's had the most deadly state they've had yet recently, or or maybe it's not deadly, but the most like people like confirmed, the most confirmed cases in one day was this week. So yeah, it's funny because maybe like completely closing down everything's not necessarily the right answer either, but there's almost this kind of weird like almost desire to ignore it and get back to normal.
Right, yeah.
That's in the opposite direction, and that doesn't necessarily feel like the right answer completely either. So I don't know what the tactic is, but
yeah, I don't know, like so many people are just like weirdly like against any type of like scientific advisory, and they want to make everything into like a political issue, when it's like, no, this is like a very like easy to understand thing. But
it's not a lot to ask for people to wear masks when they're out in public. I mean, it's not a big a deal.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Some people for some reason though think it is. It's strange.
Yeah. So yeah, the last thing we're going to talk about today though is a trailer for the directorial debut of Dave Franco, which is called The Rental, and it's got a bit of a cast: Alison Brie and Dan Stevens. Alison Brie, of course, is married to Dave Franco, so it makes sense that she's there. But yeah, so The Rental is a character-driven horror thriller about two couples who rent a vacation home for what should be a celebratory weekend getaway. And of course, we've got a trailer here, which is the main thing we're going to talk about. So, what did you think of the trailer, Tim?
I thought it looked pretty good. Yeah, I'd say I'm attentively excited for it. Like still don't know exactly what's going on, if it's gonna be more of a slashery kind of thing, or if it'd be like maybe like a little more psychological paranoia kind of stuff going on. But I thought it looked cool. It seemed to have like a nice style to it. And yeah, obviously I don't really know who Dan Stevens is, but I like Alison Brie, and she looks like she doing good in it.
Oh, Dan Stevens is The Guest.
Oh, he's from The Guest. Okay.
Yeah, or Legion, if you watched any of that.
Yeah, I like watch one episode.
Dan Stevens is pretty good. No, good cast. I agree. The trailer looked fairly interesting.
Competent.
yeah, it looked like it had style. It didn't look like it was
Yeah.
lacking that. Obviously, I have no idea what Dave Franco's like as a director. I don't particularly like him as an actor that much, but maybe he's better behind the camera. So,
Yeah. I don't know if it's like his fault, but like I don't really like him either. But it does seem like he is always kind of playing like the asshole character in a lot of things. I don't know if it's just because that's like what his range is or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe if he is possibly good when he gets a chance. But
yeah, the poster's kind of cool. It's like the house. It's upside down, and the house is at the top, upside down, and there's like a person falling through the sky. I mean, the trailer makes it look like it's just going to be people attacking them, but I mean, it's not entirely clear either. It's kind of like they're kind of holding it close to the chest as to what actually is going on.
And I couldn't tell if like the people attacking, if they looked like they were like wearing a mask or something, or like it seemed like there's something going on with the head, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if it's a mask or if they're maybe a little freakish or whatever, but that looked cool.
Yeah. So, and interesting cast. So we'll see. Also, actually, I just noticed here the other star here, Sheila Vand, is from A Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night. I thought I thought I recognized her.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
So yeah, cool cast. This is actually coming out on July 24th. It will be in theaters, but it's also on demand at the same time. So it's safe to say we'll be covering that when it hits. So that's The Rental coming in July. So that is us. That is the news for the week. I didn't watch any other horror movies this week, Tim. I did watch Bad Boys for Life, which I actually ended up talking about for like 10 minutes on something else, just randomly. So that's going to be up in Patreon as a bonus bit soon. But
Oh, cool.
no extra horror movies this week. At least I don't think I did. Did you watch anything else?
I yeah, like most weeks, I've been watching more stuff because I've been working from home. I've been watching more like TV stuff though. I've actually been watching Preacher. I'm almost done with that. Not really horror. Actually not horror at all. I guess there's a vampire in it, but
there's some horror thematic stuff occasionally.
Yeah. But Hannibal, we finally finished. We had like 2 episodes left to go, and then like the world went to like shit, and then it was kind of hard to watch like something intense like that. But then we were finally like, yeah, I think we can watch it now. So I liked it overall. I don't think I was like as crazy. Just the show overall, I don't think I was like as amazed by it as like some people. Cause like some people love it and think it's like a masterpiece. Like I thought it was like okay. Like I liked it. I wouldn't say I was like gaga over it. I like the way it ended though. And I also watched just like a random movie on Netflix just to pass some time called The Vatican Tapes, which I think was from like a couple of years ago. Yeah, speaking of like shitty possession movies, it was really bad. I don't recommend anyone watch it.
No wonder you were in a bad mood about the possession premise earlier.
Yeah.
You literally just had a bad one.
Yeah.
Something we should mention, actually, something we just decided that we're at least going to try
Sure.
in the next few weeks, is that there's actually going to be a Ju-on Netflix original series. It's called Ju-on Origins, and it's coming on July 3rd. So we should at least have a review of the pilot or the first episode up soon after that. But
Cool.
if we don't hate it completely, we'll review all of it. But yeah, so that's kind of come out of nowhere. Connor mentioned it to me, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a
It was.
a random John series coming on Netflix.
I mean, look, I remember hearing that it was getting made. I had no idea that it was like about to premiere though.
Yeah, the premise. I've just got it here. Just I thought we'll mention it since we're telling people we're going to do it. I guess Streams After Midnight TV is making a return after years because it's been a long time since we finished Tales from the Crypt.
Right.
The J-horror classic franchise John was actually based on real events that occurred over 4 decades, and the truth is even more terrifying. Can the people haunted by the house escape from its curse, and what kind of grim incident occurred that cursed this house in the past? So, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how it's going to feel different from the movies, or if it's doing like a particularly different take on it. But we'll find out. I'm kind of curious to check it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious. I mean, I love the original Ju-on. Still one of my favorite horror movies. So, sequels and everything, not so much. But
well, to be fair, you mean Ju-on the Grudge, because I think Ju-on the Curse came before that.
Sure. I mean, whatever. The original Japanese one. I don't.
You're talking about the Grudge, though. You're talking about Ju-on the Grudge. That's the one you like.
Right.
But
yeah.
I don't think that's actually the first Ju-on movie.
There's like was it like the were the other ones like TV ones? I think I saw like some random, I don't know, like TV movies or something before. I don't know if it's the same. The timeline is a little messy, but
I think there is TV ones, but I think the original is a theatrical movie called Ju-on the Curse. I think, like, because we've reviewed the Grudge movies, but we've not reviewed the other Ju-on movies. But there is other Ju-on movies that are not the Grudge movies. It's confusing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same with The Ring. Like, there's like Sadako 3D 1 and 2, which came out somewhere in the last 10 years, and I'm like, when did this happen? Like, this happened before Sadako versus Kayako, and I don't know where these slotted in. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird. Yeah, like, well, not weird, but like some like American franchise like Children of the Corn or something. There's a lot more movies than you realize. Like, but yeah, no, obviously though talking about the first Grudge movie and the Japanese one, not the American one.
Yes. So we've clarified that kind of.
Yes.
There you go. That's the horror Screams After Midnight horror news this week. We will be should be back next week with that, but of course we have movie reviews coming out. Mention patreon.com/mailfuzztv as a way to support us. If you want to do it financially, you can do it for as little as $1 per month, and you get a bonus episode, a bonus movie review from Screams After Midnight every month for that $1. $5 tier gets you early access to the movie reviews and a chance to vote for an episode every month. So go and have a look, see if you're interested. Of course, you can support us simply by liking. You can like, which does let YouTube know that you think it's worth sharing this video out to other people, and other people can find it, and maybe horror fans will discover a mediocre pair of douchebags who talk about horror news, and they'll be like, "Ooh, this is all right. I can put this on as a form of torture or something." But so do that. You can also get us on Twitter at Screams Midnight if you want to get our ramblings on there and updates about content and so on and so on. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, guys, and we will see you next time.